So let's talk first about the concept of market efficiency. Now, the theory of market efficiency is that there are a lot of people out there, and they're all numerate, intelligent, highly motivated, objective, and rational. And they all want to accomplish the thing you do, which is to end up with more money than you started with. Given the scope of competition, how will you be the one who accomplishes the goal rather than them? Not easily thought out. Now, what we call the strong form of the efficient market hypothesis says that due to these circumstances, all information is immediately incorporated into the price of assets, to the extent that no one person can figure out which are the bargains and which are the overpricings. Now, the really strong form is actually a little different. It says that the prices of assets as a result of this intensive process are always right. You can't beat them, and so you can't beat the market. Now, I don't think that's right. I think the prices are not necessarily right. They're just the best that the consensus can do, and it's hard for any one person to be smarter than the consensus. So the question is, do you accept that? And that pushes you toward a passive approach, targeting average performance, low cost, low risk, highly likely to succeed to accomplish your objective, which is being average? Or will you try to be above average in the face of the very strong competition that exists? Will you endure the costs? Will your pursuit of being above average permit you to be exposed to the risk of being below average? And will you engage in this pursuit of superior performance, which is not that likely to succeed? The first thing I learned at University of Chicago was that on average, most people do average before fees and below average after fees. And the thought at the time, 1968, was, well, why don't they just buy one share of every stock in the S&P 500? There was no discussion of index funds or indexation. These had yet to be invented, basically by Jack Bogle at Vanguard in '74. These are questions, but it's very fundamental to the selection of an investment approach to understand and reflect the concept of market efficiency. The next is knowing where returns come from. You can have an average portfolio and do average, or you can say, well, this is a company that I think is going to deliver positive news which is unanticipated by others, positive surprises. And if you can figure out which ones will deliver positive surprises, you can overweight your portfolio toward those. And then when the news comes out and it conforms with your view, everybody else says, oh, I wish I had more. They go out and buy it. That forces the price up. You are an above average performer. So that's the root. How regularly can it be accomplished? That's the question. If you think different from others, you have what we call a deviant perception. How often will you be right, as opposed to the consensus being right and you being wrong? This is at the heart of things. Again, you're up against intelligent competition. And when I started my career at a large and bureaucratic institution in the equity department, people would ask, well, what do you think you can make for us? And the answer was 12%. Well, how do you arrive at 12? Well, the S&P 500 does 10 on average, has done at that point in time for 60 years. So if you can get 10 without any effort, you should be able to get, well, let's say 20% better with a little elbow grease. In other words, 12. But what if all the elbow grease in the world doesn't accomplish anything because the market's efficient and you can't get an advantage? Then it's not only a waste of effort, but it's a waste of management fees. and of course, management fees are the only certainty in the investing world. Now, another important question is, will you bet on macro forecasts? Everybody makes macro forecasts, and yet I don't believe that they are of any use. That's a mild exaggeration, but not so great. The truth of the matter is that most of the time, things continue as they are. So a forecast of extrapolation is correct most of the time. And most people share that view. Most people expect extrapolation. Extrapolation of the recent trends, the long-term trends, is incorporated in security prices. So when the extrapolation turns out to be correct, it's not a profitable expectation because everybody else had it as well. It was in the price you paid. The forecasts that are very profitable are the ones that call for radical deviation from trend, radical deviation from extrapolation. These are very significant when you make them and they're right. The trouble is they're not right very often because most of the time things are extrapolated. And so we have forecasts of extrapolation, which are usually correct but not profitable, and forecasts of deviation from trend, which are potentially very profitable but not often correct. I take that analysis to mean macro forecasting doesn't work. And when we started Oaktree 29 years ago this month, we sat down and we wrote out the things we had been doing, because we had the benefit of having worked together for 9 years already on average. And we have a very simple investment philosophy of 6 points, which governs everything we do. And number 5 says that our actions are not driven by macro forecasts. We are bottom-up investors selecting individual companies, not top-down selecting markets and countries. So that's a difference. We think we can get an advantage. By the way, where does outperforming come from? In short, it comes from having a knowledge advantage. And you have to know something better than most other people to outperform. Just trying is not going to help you if you don't know something they don't know. So we think we can get a knowledge advantage in studying the micro companies, industries, and securities, not the macro countries, markets, and rates, for example.